Carl Jung once warned, "He who does not look at his shadow projects it outward and meets it in his destiny." And this is where the tragedy of the anima begins. The shadow you refuse to face inside yourself takes shape in the fantasies you create about her. From childhood, you were taught to worship an image: the pure woman, the nurturing mother, the perfect lover, the goddess who would save you from yourself. Stories, songs, and silent expectations whispered it into your soul that one day she would come, the woman who would heal your wounds, complete your story, and make everything make sense. But that woman never existed. She was always a projection. Your unlived longings, your hidden wounds, your unclaimed power, given form in the fantasy of the anima. And so you search for her. Not a partner, but a redeemer. Not love, but salvation. You don't just want connection. You want to be completed. But here's the danger. When your anima is built from fantasy, no real woman can satisfy it. Because no real woman was made to carry the weight of your shadow. You fall in love not with her, but with the mask you placed upon her face. And as long as she wears that mask, you adore her. But the moment she reveals herself, flawed, human, real, the illusion shatters. And you don't question the mask. You question the woman. You don't see the betrayal of your fantasy. You see what you call the failure of her reality. And this is how the anima's revenge begins. Because the more you project, the more you give away your power. Not because she takes it, but because you surrender it. You hand her the pen to write your worth. You give her the mirror in which you see yourself. But it's not her fault. She didn't ask for the burden of your shadow. You gave it to her. You asked her to carry what you refused to claim, and in doing so, you made her powerful in ways that terrify you, because now she holds the key to your sense of self. Now, your happiness rises and falls on her approval, her presence, her reflection. And this is the trap of the anima's revenge. The more you worship the fantasy, the more blind you become to the woman and to yourself. The anima doesn't destroy you. Your refusal to see beyond her does. Every time you seek the fantasy instead of the person, you lose a piece of yourself. And in the end, what you fear most happens. You don't find salvation. You find emptiness. Because the anima's revenge isn't her hurting you. It's you hurting yourself by chasing what was never real. Carl Jung once said, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And this is the tragedy of the man lost in the anima's illusion. The more he projects, the less he sees. You build your identity around the dream. You convince yourself that if she loves you, you are whole. If she stays, you matter. If she adores you, you are enough. But what happens when the dream begins to crumble? When the woman fails to match the ideal you placed upon her? You feel betrayed, not because she betrayed you, but because reality betrayed your fantasy. And so you begin the quiet punishment of both of you. You resent her for failing to be what she was never meant to be. You resent yourself for needing her to be it. And the cycle deepens. You chase the next anima, the next fantasy, the next salvation, and the more you chase, the further you drift from yourself. Nietzsche warned, "The greatest achievement is to obey oneself." And that's what happens here. You stop leading yourself. You let your projections lead you. You let the fantasy command your choices, your emotions, your worth. And in doing so, you hand away the key to your own soul. You seek in her what you refuse to seek in yourself: wholeness, meaning, peace. And she, unknowingly or not, becomes the mirror you worship. But here's the cost. Every time you look at her for salvation, you blind yourself to your own power. Every time you build your worth on her reflection, you weaken the man beneath the longing. Carl Jung reminded us, your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. But how can you look into your heart when you're too busy looking at hers for answers? This is the hidden revenge of the Anima. Not that she hurts you, but that you abandon yourself in chasing her. And the tragedy is, she never asked for that role. You wrote it, you cast her, you placed her upon the pedestal, and now you hate the pedestal because it keeps you from seeing the human. But the pedestal wasn't hers, it was yours. Nietzsche warned, the higher we soar, the smaller we appear to those who cannot fly. And maybe that's the curse of the man who lives through his anima. The higher he builds the fantasy, the smaller he feels in its shadow. You told yourself she would save you, that her love would make you whole, that if you could just win her, everything inside you would finally be quiet. But love born from fantasy is not love. It's dependence disguised as devotion. And the higher you build her up in your mind, the further you fall when reality intrudes. Because no woman can be what your anima promises. You don't want to see her as human. You want the goddess, the muse, the redeemer. And so, when she acts as human, when she fails, struggles, contradicts, or simply is herself, you feel betrayed. But who betrayed whom? She never asked to be your salvation. You placed that burden upon her shoulders. Carl Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely." And that's what you fear most. You fear that if you stop chasing the fantasy, you'll have to face what you've tried so hard to avoid, your own incompleteness. The Anima's revenge isn't her destroying you. It's you destroying yourself by refusing to see reality. You hand her your sense of self. You let her approval define your worth. And in doing so, you create a prison where you hold the key, but you're too afraid to use it. You think you love her, but what you love is the way she reflects who you wish you were. And when that reflection cracks, you don't just lose her, you lose the image of yourself you built upon her. This is why the fall feels so devastating. You don't grieve the woman, you grieve the fantasy, the mask, the story, and you grieve the man you thought you were when she loved you. But the truth is, that man never existed, and neither did the woman you imagined. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And that privilege begins the moment you stop chasing illusions and start facing yourself. You believed that loving her would save you, that winning her heart would fill the emptiness you refused to confront. But salvation was never hers to give. She didn't fail you. She didn't deceive you. She simply couldn't be the fantasy you needed her to be. And the pain you feel isn't because she left or changed. It's because the illusion cracked, and with it, the mask you wore shattered too." Nietzsche warned, There is always some madness in love, but there is also always some reason in madness. And here is the reason behind your madness. You didn't want a partner. You wanted protection from yourself. You used her to shield you from the parts of you that felt incomplete, unworthy, broken. And so you made her the gatekeeper of your wholeness. But no one can carry that weight. No one should. The Anima's revenge was never her cruelty. It was your surrender to the dream, the story, the need to be completed by another. But now comes the choice. Do you keep chasing the next fantasy, the next Anima, hoping to escape yourself a little longer? Or do you stop, look in the mirror, and finally ask, who am I when I am no longer chasing her reflection? Because that is where the journey begins, not with finding the perfect woman, but with finding the man you abandoned while chasing her, the man who no longer builds his worth on approval, the man who no longer worships illusions, the man who stops handing his soul to fantasies and starts owning it for himself, because that is the revolution of love. When it is no longer about saving or being saved, when it is no longer about projection or reflection, but about two souls meeting as they are, whole, awake, free.